Hello and welcome to Gone Traveling. We are looking at the road to greatness in the BKT EuroCup. And with me doing that is Sergio Llebres. Sergio, round five. What a week.
Yeah, another round and another week of interesting results. Some surprises in the BKT EuroCup, and another week with a lot of games to talk about. And the rankings begin to draw themselves, and they are giving us glimpses of what the season could be from now on.
Yeah. We're down to one undefeated team, and we still have two winless teams. And that's after one of the previous winless teams beat one of the undefeated teams, Lead Cabela's, defeating Borg, which I know we will talk about later. Valencia is the only team that's perfect still at 5-0, and Hamburg and Trefl are still winless at 5-0. Kind of interesting dynamic. Home teams on Tuesday went 4-1. Home teams on Wednesday 1-4. And then the only home winner on Wednesday was, in my eyes, one of the biggest upsets of the season. Trento beating Hapoel, and we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. So just for those who are new to the show, we each pick a game, we each pick a player, and then we each pick a surprise. And there's really so much to talk about. We're not going to be talking about Bejassir with their 17-0 run coming back to beat Borussia. We're not going to talk about Valencia killing their telecom.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about Cluj surviving 22 turnovers to beat Jerusalem. So if you're looking for those, go to the website, FIBA, to the EuroCup website, and check out those. Sergio, your game. Tell us about your game.
My game, I gotta go with Litkabilis win. It's like the most surprising game this round, and
So they beat Borg, who has
yeah,
been finalist from last year and had been up to this point undefeated. We talked about last week. Hopefully they get to that game after the FIBA break undefeated. Nope, that's not going to happen.
yeah. Bourges got the undefeated standard, and it seemed like until they didn't cross Valencia in November, any team could like battle the win against them. But now, and a team that didn't get any win made the home win, and it was mainly because one guy that you talked about in the last episode, Marco Pekarski, that had a perfect night on both sides, I gotta say, because he was very important on the defensive end, but also in offense, of course. He was perfect in his shot selection, in his efficiency. 22 points, eight rebounds, two blocks, and 34 PIR. The key points of the match are like very defined because Lietkabelis outside shooting was very, very efficient. They got like four three-pointers to finish, um, to get the tone of the game, and then controlling the final quarter was key. That was one of the deficiencies that Lietkabelis had in these first four rounds, control of the game. And despite Bur's response and Xavier Castañeda's eruption, mini eruption, Lietkabelis could like stay calm, cold, and with Pekarski, Kalaitzakis having some good decisions, um, or like responding from the bad decisions he had earlier in the game. He showed some maturity in like the last 3 minutes, and combining those two, Letkabelis had an option and they got it.
Yeah, that Pisarski jumper was a
Yeah,
big book shot.
unreal.
Borg come back, made it a 1 point game. And the Lead Cabas had gotten an offensive rebound and, had, went out to Pasarski. I originally thought it was a 3 pointer, which wouldn't have shocked me at all if he had hit it, that it was three. But that's a big boy shot, to hit that with 23 seconds left to give your team, put it back up to 3 points. Yeah. And I'm super excited for him. It's a guy, like I said last week, I've been following for really a decade. And it's a team that I said in my power rankings, I had them pretty low, but it's a team you can never underestimate. And yeah, they showed it. It's not a horrible loss, but it's not a good one for Borg,
No.
knowing that they are really trying to probably look at a top two spot. They still
Mhm.
have a 4-1 record. Cedevita's right down there, right there waiting for them. Jerusalem's at 3-2, Turk Telecom's 3-2. That's going to be a dogfight, and to lose a game like this, quote, at least it's on the road, but it's still not one that you want.
Yeah, but you cannot afford a lose like this against a non-rival, a direct rival,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That,
For sure. For
that's
sure.
what you're saying. So
Yeah.
bad loss for Bourg, but they're gonna be at the two, top three fight for sure.
Yeah. My game that I wanted
Yeah, what
to
else?
address was yesterday on Tuesday, on Wednesday was Cedevita beating Aris 82-75. Just mentioned Cedevita. They are now 3-4-1, right there in the mix. One game right behind Valencia, and it was a very big win for Cedevita. They were losing by 12 points. And it was a double-digit game for a while. Cedevita turned the game in the fourth quarter, and guess who did it? Devin Robinson and Jakub Blazic. I mean, Robinson, played at Manresa last year.
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if he's in the EuroLeague next year? There's loads of guys EuroCup that go from EuroCup to EuroLeague. And right now, he might be one of the leading guys that might make that jump. You know, they were down by, I'll let you get that in a second. So they were down by 9 points with about 8 minutes left, and Robinson came in, direct impact, 3 point play, and another basket, has steal, and Blazic was just fantastic in that 7-0 run. Ended with 19 points. Robinson 18 points. And they had a little bit of sort of extra motivation. After the game, assistant coach Georgia Atsic dedicated the win to head coach Mitrovic, who had missed the last couple of
Mhm.
games due to an illness. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Cedevita. I mean, Robinson, what do you think?
I think he's one of the most explosive guys in the EuroCup, and in physical conditions, he's got a spot in the EuroLeague, and also he had in Manresa he had as a coach Pedro Martinez, and I think that was key for him to understand to get to the next level in understanding the game in Europe, and now he's applying that in the individual scheme, because um, and despite he's in a new team and he plays with Mitrovic that has a very specific play style, um, he understands the spacing, the way he get around the court, and that's key for him because he's like one guy that can defend like four positions, different positions, and a guy that can do that and run the court like he does and plays above the rim. I think he got a being like 2 meters, 3 centimeters, and not having like a consistent 3 point shot may be like a handicap for him. But if you are looking for a physical 3-4, you gotta go with Devin. Yeah.
Yeah. in my eyes, he's in the EuroLeague next year. You look last year,
Mhm.
you looked at like Trevian Williams from Ulm.
Yeah,
You know, now he stayed in Germany, but he's with Alba. You know, I'm not saying that they're exactly the same players. It's just the idea
yeah.
that,
I
you know,
love
EuroCup
Trefl.
players, so many just go, you know, EuroLeague spots them as, you know, plus he has the experience of Spain last year, you know, I mean, so
Mm.
maybe if we'll talk about
Sp-
that later. Huh?
Spain grows players. ACB League is very, very competitive, and it's like
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, that league's not too bad.
No.
All right, your player. Who do you want to talk about?
Talking about Spaniards, Miquel Salvo, because this is like the perfect excuse. We talked it earlier. It's like the
Mhm.
perfect excuse to talk about Gran Canaria's historical performance with 125 points. I
125 points in
And
40
it's not an
minutes.
NBA game with
40 minutes.
overtimes and yeah, only in 40 strict minutes of European basketball. Yeah. And it was against Ratio Farmul that had the handicap of having like four missing guys, included Ben Saraf. They had a very long
And
uh,
all the travel.
yeah, a very long on the road schedule. Every game on October, I think it was on the road, uh, and now they are returning home. But talking about Gran Canaria, they made 68 points in the first half. It was they were raining threes over there, and I gotta go with Miquel Salvo because of course you don't expect that on a historical night for Gran Canaria and the competition with a team full of big names and prolific scorers like Joe Thomason or Caleb Homlessy, and other names like Carlos Alocen. You don't expect that Miquel Salvo, that a guy that works hard from the mud and in the shadows, but who had this regard for helping the team and translate it to numbers because um, he was like 30 PIR and he was very prolific also in the 3-point line without missing. And the thing is like he drowned six fouls and he was 10 out of 11 in the free throw line.
That's the thing. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
20 points, you're like,
I,
ah, okay,
I
maybe hit
was
like
like
four threes, you know?
I was leaving it at the final because it's
Yeah.
very surprising that in 24 minutes, yeah, you have 11 free throws and you made 10.
Yeah.
I think that goes with the context that you are very relaxed because you know you're winning anyway, because you're making
Yeah.
history and you
Yeah.
probably don't know that you're making history, but you know your team is having a good game. And I think that that's so important. He almost got like the half of the three free throws of his team. Gran Canaria had 23 out of 27, and he got like 10, so 90% efficiency in a. And I think this is a very good regard for a guy that is playing for years, basing his game on efforts and not numbers. And good night for him. Yeah.
A glue guy, total glue guy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so every player from Gran Canaria scored at least 8 points,
That's
except
great.
Andrew Elvis. Andrew, come on, man. Zero. A goose egg. 125, and you can't get 1 point. He did
There
dish
were
out
too
four
many.
assists, had one steal. A goose egg. Everybody else has at least eight, and Andrew Albasi goes for a goose egg. Yeah, you know, mentioned Ohm really quick, and you know, it's they started the season on fire, 3-0 in the league, 3-0 in the Euro Cup, and they've lost now five in a row, had a massive long road trip, and you know, you just got to be careful now. You know, now they're gonna have to, you know, really. I really want to see how quick they're kind of able to recover from this sort of long road trip and everything else.
Yeah.
They have they're still, you know, pretty decent in the standings, you know, 3-2. Interesting though, look at the point differential. They're 3-2, and they have a minus 58 point differential.
My God.
Just, just crazy. To give it some context, that's the worst in the group. That's the worst in the group. Not even Trento and Sopot have worse. In fact, it's the second worst in the competition. Only Hamburg has a worse point differential. Um, my guy is Rodney McGruder, Reyer. Um, a very important victory for them. They were without Tyler Ennis, without Xavier Munford, without Jordan Parks, and playing a game and that they really kind of needed to win and to get into they had lost three in a row, and it was against the last place team, a winless team with Hamburg. And I saw him. He was starting to do stuff, and I was like, so he scored what he scored 10 of his team's first 15 points, and I'm like, wait a minute, why we haven't seen him at all? And as I was
Yeah.
looking around, and so he was introduced, or we announced the Euro Cup announced him on October 4th. And he hadn't played yet. And then I saw that on Twitter that he was introduced to the media on the 18th. So that was, I think, on Friday, something like that, something like that. And so he was actually still in Florida because of the hurricanes, looking after his house and the community. And so this was his Euro Cup debut, 28 points. Second game with the team. He had played in the domestic league, and that was their first win of the season that they had. And ended with 28. Hit a big 3-pointer after Hamburg had tried to come back. And this is a guy, and that this was basically his first action since March 8th. He played
Yeah.
in the EuroLeague. So and the crowd totally knew what was going on. They gave him a standing ovation. 28 points, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 turnovers in 31 minutes with a team he hasn't seen, at all, for like 3 days. That's all he had, like 3, 4 or 5 days. That's it. And 31 minutes and 2 turnovers. So yeah,
And
basically hat tip to Rodney McGruder.
it's curious how EuroCup teams give the keys to the new arrivals, because you could see in Turk Telecom's game that Erdem Khan gave the keys to Angola, or maybe Angola took the keys by himself, because he was like the only guy playing when he was on the court. And now Rodney McGruder, an ex-NBA player that has proven that he's got a lot on the offensive end, got like 17 shots in his first EuroCup game with Venezia. That says a lot from Venezia's handicap on injuries and and missing guys. So it's curious to see how teams react to the necessities. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And puts them, they're in the dogfight for sort of that sixth spot.
Mhm.
It kind of looks like, the Valencia, Bourg, Cedevita, Jerusalem, Ankara, that they'll probably imagine they'll finish in the top five. And then you have Cluj and Reyer, maybe Aris,
Yeah.
it's kind of fighting for that sixth spot. So a really big victory. You can't lose to Hamburg, man. Not the winless team in the group.
No.
So who's your surprise player?
My surprise player is Anthony Lamb.
Mhm.
Not because his performance, because he cannot surprise anyone by scoring 23 points, but Dolomiti Energia Trento needed uh, a win or a good performance because they had a 40-point loss the earlier round against Basa Gesir. And Anthony Lamb was uh, key to win a very big team like Hapoel Tel Aviv, because Tel Aviv is one of the contenders of the competition, and almost no one would say that Trento had an option here, seeing what they saw in the fourth round. But I gotta say, like, they are 4-0 in Liga A, and they are the only team undefeated in domestic competition in Italy. It's kind of curious, but I gotta go with Lam, not because of his performance in general, but because he was one of the main guy or decisive guy to make a comeback for Trento when anyone would think that Trento had a possibility in the game. He commanded a 25 run, and that was kind of surprising. Like I said, in 27 minutes, he had 23 points, and he was pretty efficient in two-pointers with 6 out of 7. And yeah, with Ford, they combined and for 40 points. Jordan Ford that had a very good start in the competition, and then like it dissolved a little bit, but 40 points between those two guys that are 1 point more than the half of the total points from Trento. And despite the good performance of Marcus Foster that had 18 points and he played a lot, 35 minutes, the guy that played the most in Tel Aviv, Hapoel could not maintain the advantage in the final minutes and fell to a 3-2 record, and now Trento is 2-3.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have on my bingo card,
No?
them losing them first of all, Trento building the lead and then losing the lead and then putting at 20-5 run against Hapoel to close the game. That I didn't have on the bingo card, and Lamb was a huge part of that. Really big block at the end
Yeah. And he had
as well,
9
and then
points.
the game icing free throws. So yeah, it was definitely an impressive performance by Lamb. I'm gonna
What's
go
yours?
with sorry, go ahead. Huh?
No, what's yours?
I got Marcus Weathers.
Yeah,
Hard luck losers, Trefl Sopot. Second overtime loss at home this season,
that's
man.
tough.
Everybody's listening to the show. They know where that, at least me, that I'm kind of a homer for Sopot, but second overtime loss. They're not an 0-5 team for sure. The 25 points, 8 of 9 twos, 2 of 5 threes. Really unstoppable at
Yeah.
times. A big guy, and I did some digging, and well, first of all, to the game. So it went to overtime, and there was 7:49 left in the game, and Sivkovsky had a free throw disallowed, and it looked like the referee pointed to the line, so that meant that he had stepped on the line in the free throw. In my eyes, he didn't step on it. The game went to overtime. There was
That's
7 and 40 minutes.
ridiculous.
That's one
Yeah.
point right there. It's anyhow, but you get to overtime, you need to have better execution. 10-0 run to start the overtime uh for whoever beat Sopot, who beat Sopot.
Yeah.
Who beat
Well,
Sopot.
they
Uh,
can learn from this. This is a marathon. There are many games left, and they can
who did it beat? Wait,
deal.
hang on 1 second. So Wolves beat
Okay.
him. Okay, no, so I did some digging. So first of all,
Okay.
Weathers.
Okay.
Weathers, he was in 22-23, he was in Philippines and Taiwan. So 2 years ago, he was in Taiwan. Last season, he started in Turkey, and then he went to Monabar in Montenegro. Finished the ABA League third in scoring and second in rebound. Final 3 games were 20 and 10 double doubles. So 20 and 10 double doubles. Born, so this is geek information. Born in Overland Park, Kansas. Who else was born in Overland, Kansas? Overland Park, Kansas.
You told me.
Sammy Ojale.
Oh,
Sammy Ojale. We know him from Valencia. How about Siobhan Shields from Milan in the EuroLeague? 3 guys who were born in the same town in Kansas. Weathers is the second leading all-time scorer in his high school, Shawnee Mission, Northwest. Second to his twin brother. He has a twin brother, Michael Weathers. playing in Germany for Heidelberg, played last season in Austria, was third in scoring, fifth in steals, first in blocks.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Marcus Weathers. That if that's not a reason to watch Sopot, another reason to watch Trefl Sopot, I don't know what is.
Marcus Weathers is the podcast favorite player right now.
Hey, how about it,
From
man?
now on, yeah.
Okay.
Question.
Anything else from round five before we look ahead?
Well, I think one team that we gotta like put the focus in is Joventut because they are very, very, very inconsistent. As we saw in the first round, they were playing great, but now Danny Miret cannot handle the team play style. They depend a lot of in Ante Tomic and in the perimeter game isn't very efficient. As I said, it's very inconsistent. And six from three, they were 6 out of 23, losing against Besiktas 82 to 76. And they are starting to worry because in the ACB league also they are not performing very well. And that was my comment, very positive comment about Juventud, because I think it's unexpected this very bad start of the season. Yeah,
That puts us into round six. They have a very tough game at home, at
exactly.
least, but against Gran Canaria, who just dropped 126. Okay, on a tired, weary but I think we had talked the week before. They scored 66 points in the last two games, right? Gran Canaria, and so then they dropped 126. I would say they are out of their scoring drought. And then so you get a hot Gran Canaria team. It's a Spanish team, and don't look now, but if you go back to last season, the regular season, Joventut have lost six of their last 8 games in the EuroCup regular seasons. Six of their last games in the regular season they've lost. So massively difficult game against Gran Canaria. If they lose this, down to 2-4, and you're starting to, if Trento do win their game, then they're even with Trento. So you might get into some problems with Joventut. I don't know if there's any sort of thought, okay, maybe a coaching change, whatever, something. I would imagine probably a signing first. Then you get
Yeah.
then you get Trent, then you get Trento actually in round seven, and then Budućnost before the break. So a really big 3-game stretch here for Joventut. The game that I sort of circled was Cedevita against Jerusalem.
Hmm.
It's a big game for that group. Cedevita, as we said, were 4-1. Had a really nice comeback win. Jerusalem is right behind them at 3-2. But they had to deal with a loss as well. So just it's that with them losing to Cluj, as we mentioned, it's going to be an important victory. It would be an important victory for Jerusalem to get that in on the road. And yeah, I mean the only other game, and I hope I don't steal it, but the other game is Ulm against Trento. Just seeing what Ulm at home, they have the game over the weekend against Fechte, and then they play against Trento, just to see how they bounce back from all of this travel and everything else.
Yeah. Ulm gotta recover right now. Mostly not in results, but anemically. They need to feel themselves, and if they have any guy recovering from the nursery, it would be very positive because um, adding the missing guys, more minutes for the other guys, and all all the minutes played and the the how the fatigue. I couldn't find the word. The fatigue that they
Mhm.
are adding to themselves can be like very negative before the break. So I think they needed the break right now. But well, this is a key game for them at their home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's a team that started on fire. It's
Hmm.
a team that obviously are have two very key young players, and you're always wondering what young players are going to do. Both of them have played pretty well, I would say. And before the stretch, they have a game. Then after Trento, they play at Budusnos, and then have a home game against Bajacir, which will be a big game for them to kind of stay in touch with maybe one of the top three, top four spots, tops in the league. Just calling up their league schedule. I know they play. Oh, yeah, okay. So they play at home this Saturday against Fechter, and then play next week against at home against Hamburg, and then have a game at Alba Berlin. So uh, a team that's yeah, kind of also struggling right now in Germany with Fechter, and then you have the game
Yeah.
against Hamburg, under a winless team. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, after that stretch. Then again, nobody's looking for excuses in that locker room. They all know that, it was an amazing experience to go play in that NBA game, and they knew that they had all this travel and everything else. So they're not looking for excuses, but it is going to be tough. It's going to be very key for them to bounce back physically, mentally, as quick as possible.
Yeah, they have three EuroCup level, if you can call Hamburg EuroCup level, because they are in the EuroCup, but they have three consecutive EuroCup level games, then an EuroLeague level game against Berlin, and then another EuroCup level game against Basaksehir. So
Heck, man, that's almost a yearly game, but just
yeah,
here.
yeah, they have half EuroCup, half EuroLeague, but they have five games that are key, six games, oh, well, five, sorry, that are key, and it's going to be a very noisy November for them too. So
Okay, so we're about to close, but I wanted to ask you, and this is off script, so I don't know if
okay,
you're gonna be able to. So we talked about Borg sort of being like the we want to see them play against them in the as undefeated teams. That's obviously not going to happen. I was talking to somebody else, and final against Tel Aviv would be interesting. They're the only undefeated team left, and really, Turk Telecom needed, like, I think it was 35-20 fourth quarter to make it even look respectable. And so who do you see right now? I mean, it's still super early, but who do you see right now as the number one competitor against them for them?
I gotta go with Basaksehir
Yeah.
for me right now. I
Yeah.
think it's the most cohesive team. They got a few names they can rely on. There's not one or two guys. I think they play a very groupal basketball, but also with good individualities that resolve situations that are and they very 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 consistent. Uh, they started very well against Wolves, and then they had a 21 point victory against Besiktas. Then they suffered a very tight loss against Gran Canaria. Traveling to Gran Canaria is a pity for any team because Gran Canaria is like in the middle of Africa, for those who don't know. So if you're in Spain, it's
Home
okay, but
fans, they know.
yeah, yeah. If you're in Spain, it's like okay, but if you're in the Eastern Europe or in the middle of Europe, it's kind of
I mean, think about it. Think about it. On Wednesday,
yeah.
Ulm played on the west coast of the United States.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then on Tuesday, they played, like you just said, off the eastern mid-central coast, western coast of Africa.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Someone's gotta
With a
like,
game in between, with a game in between. Not having seen their bed yet,
yeah.
They no, actually no, sorry. After the Oldenburg game, they had one night at home. All right, we're out of time. Hey, thank you everybody for listening to the show. Hope you enjoy it. Message me Hein News HeinNews on Twitter. Sergio, tell us where they can find you on the wonderful social media.
The wonderful social media, Llebres11, Lebres. And for those who want to chat, there I am.
All right. That was round 5 of the BKT EuroCup, the road to greatness. 5 down. Plenty more fun to go. And Sergio, thanks a lot. And we will catch you all next week. See ya.